All right, well, from there on, we move on to Suraj Estates and Developers. They have raised about 343 crores through a preferential issue. And we spoke to the whole-time director, Rahul Thomas, to discuss how these funds will be utilized and the timeline for deploying them. Listen into a slice of that conversation.
So we have raised 343 crores, 100 crores out of which is share warrants, and the balance is through preferential raise of equity shares. The primary goal is to use 40% of these proceeds for land acquisition, lands which are very prime and which we have already identified. The balance would be for working capital requirements and the general corporate purpose.
So are you targeting any particular land parcels you've been eyeing on, any progress on that front? And can you elaborate more on the working capital requirements needed for this?
Yes, so we have identified certain lands. We see a buoyant commercial demand. So to cater to this demand, we have identified certain land parcels. So I think primarily that would be the projects where the capital will be deployed. In terms of working capital, it's mainly for making certain payments for premium payments to the MCGM and other business requirements is the main reason why we would require the working capital.
Well, sure, that's understandable. But now coming to your pre-sales performance, you've reported a 5% growth in Q1. While we refrain on discussing the Q2 figures for FY25, you've guided for 850 crore of pre-sales, which is about a 76% growth compared to last year. Do you maintain this guidance, and can we expect an acceleration from H2 onwards? Also, can you give us an outline of some of the key launches which you're currently focusing on?
Yes. So our guidance was 850 crores. So we're quite confident on achieving those numbers. Of course, I cannot be very specific on the pre-sale numbers for this quarter because our results will be announced the first week of November. So around that, we will be giving the specifics. But I can only tell you that we are poised for a good growth and we are in the right trajectory for achieving the target. In terms of our launches, we have 1,150 crores of launches planned in obviously H2. We plan to launch this. These are obviously a commercial project on Tosi Pipe Road would be one of the biggest launches which we will be doing. Also one in Shivaji Park in the residential segment. So these are the two big launches which we are going to be busy with.
Okay, so when can we expect the two big launches that you mentioned about? Is it in these next 2 quarters itself?
Absolutely. Our target is to bring it between the third and the fourth quarter would be the right timeline where we could see both these launches and obviously the registrations to be done.
Along with the launches that you've mentioned, I want to also understand your progress on the expansion into Bandra sub-market with first phase of approvals received. What is the GDV potential from this that can be expected from this sub-market?
So we already have the land tied up in Bandra. So our target is to be launching it next year. It's a bit early to give you the exact GDV, but because there's some amalgamation of plots also to be done, certain new acquisitions also going on as we speak. So I think it's a bit early to give you the exact thing on the GDV, but maybe in due course we will be giving out the exact numbers.
Well, that's understandable. Now, considering the overall real estate sector, if you look at the pricing growth, there have been reports suggesting that this is expected to stabilize to a single-digit growth versus the previous peak seen earlier. Even you've reported a double-digit growth with realizations at about 50,000 square feet of level. How do you see the pricing level going forward and its impact on launches for the next 1 to 2 years?
So I think pricing overall as an industry, it has gone up in the residential segment. Our average realizations, if you see our quarter-on-quarter numbers also has gone up. But it's a fine balance which we have to strike between velocity and pricing. So our target would be velocity because the pricing realization in the areas we are operating are already good. We already stand with a good margin. So velocity is key, and also to make sure that we launch all our projects which is planned for the H2. So I think cash flows real estate is entirely a cash flow game, and I think that's why we'll go with the velocity.
All right, well, that's Suraj Estates and Developers. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Small and Mid Cap Show.